Hello and welcome to another edition of Walker Talks. I'm your host, Lacey Smith with the Walker County Chamber of Commerce, joined today by a couple of new faces, but not new to the Chamber or the business community here in Walker County. We have Alicia Reagan with Rise Social Marketing. Alicia is also a member of our board of directors. It's good to get you on the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm not Ashley, but...
You are not. He's taking a little bit of a break this summer, a well-needed break.
I hope he's not tired of us.
No, that's impossible, right?
Right.
Impossible.
He's got to come back, right?
He'll be back in a few weeks.
Big shoes to fill, though.
No, big shoes to fill, but we are excited to have you, and you're familiar with our guest today as well.
Yeah, I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Aaron Ford with Ford Chiropractic, and if you live in LaFayette, you're very familiar with who this guy is. He's very active in our community. He's well-loved, well-respected. They're personal friends, so I know that they are not just that way in their business. They're also that way in their personal lives, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, we're so glad to have you here today, Dr. Ford, and excited to learn from you and hear about all the great wisdom you're going to give us today. And
thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you.
So tell us about your business.
Well, I guess I will start from when we started. I've been here since 1998, so 28 and almost a half years I've been practicing in LaFayette, Georgia. Moved here knowing really no one. I went in originally there was another chiropractor here, and that's a long story, but I found it back in the day, you would send out letters with return postcards to areas of the country where you wanted to practice, and the doctor that was here at the time, the chiropractor in Lafayette at the time, sent me a postcard back, and I checked out several practices, and I ended up in Lafayette, ended up with him for a little while. And then about 10 months after going in with him, our philosophy of practice was a little different. I went out on my own, and the rest is history. So, we are in some ways typical chiropractic, where we do a lot of musculoskeletal issues, and but we're a low pressure type clinic, and we treat lots of things too. We don't just do backs; we do a lot of extremities and those type of things as well. So
Lafayette's home.
LaFayette's home, yeah, because of that.
Well, we were talking earlier about your involvement in the community as well. So it's not like you just have a brick and mortar business and you keep within the walls of that business. You guys are pretty active in the community too.
I don't necessarily think of it that way, but I guess that over the years in Lafayette, it's such a small town that it just happens, because you build relationships. You end up going to church there. You end up your kids end up, playing sports or whatever. And now we've got grandkids. And so, you get, in Lafayette, you get interweaved in the community very quickly. So, we feel like we know everybody. That's one thing I love about Lafayette, in case I don't get a chance to say this. I've always said Lafayette is extremely welcoming, and the people are extremely friendly. There's just good people in Lafayette, Georgia. We lived in Noonan when I was a kid. And my dad, we were originally from Indiana, and my dad used to say that about Noonan, Georgia. That's one reason I wanted to move back, because when I was a kid, we lived in Noonan, and the people were just good, kind-hearted people. I heard somebody in the clinic was in there yesterday and said the same thing, that it was not originally from here. So, yeah.
I would agree with that. I moved here in 2020, and I just feel like I've been here my whole life. Like, it's just home. It just feels like home, and it did not take long for that to happen. And just to get engaged with the community, I think the community does watch you. And I think if you can earn the community's respect, you're in. Yeah. And that's just been really beneficial, because everybody knows everybody. And, you get a good name, and that just gets spread around. And and it's really, you see the community show up for each other. And I think Lafayette's a very special place.
Yeah, it is. I hope it seems like a lot of small towns around America are like Lafayette. But it always amazes me, just when something happens to somebody, or somebody's kid gets cancer, or there's a bad accident, how people gather around other people. It's really neat.
Beautiful thing to see. Well, how did you two get connected? I don't think I ever asked that question.
I think I spoke at a Bible study. I was invited by First Baptist to share my story at their Bible study, and his wife Melissa was there. And somebody had been wanting us to meet anyway, so we made a lunch date and hit it off. And I think that's how I go to him for treatment, obviously. But I think that's sort of the story. We just,
it's history.
It just clicked. And we've been a thing.
I mean, that is a good thing about small towns too. You get to do life alongside of, people that you are around in the business world, but you see them at church or at civic groups. It's always a good thing. Yeah. I think one of the things we talked about too, the focus for today is just not only being involved in the community, but also, your business practices, how you go about creating a good environment for your employees. What does that look like for you?
And let me start. I'm going to interject here too, because if you go into his practice, there's a culture in there and there's a chemistry within there. I will say, as an outsider, everybody's extremely friendly. You can tell within Ford Chiropractic they are family. And I think that would be the biggest thing I would say about you and that work culture that you've created, is that even when you come in there as a patient, you feel that family culture, and it kind of just makes you want to be there, from the greeting in the door to the rapport that goes on. It's just a very welcoming, calming, fun place to be.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people that enter the door in pain, I think it's a really good vibe in there as far as the energy. And I know that's something you have built. So I'm really curious, with her, that philosophy behind that. Yeah.
I don't, everything goes back to your raising, I guess. I don't know, but when I started the business, it's just outside of my purview to ever think that you wouldn't be friendly to people that are coming in for either help or to spend money at your business. It's out of my purview to think you wouldn't be friendly and kind to your family and to everybody else. And so that transfers. And so, like, to think that you wouldn't greet somebody when they come through the door, do the best you can to help them within your means. Like, why would you not do it that way? And so, then what happens is you start learning to surround yourself with people that have that mindset, but also encourage it. Like, this is what we do. And so obviously there's things we put in place where we say we would like you to introduce people, or say a person's name when they come through the door, introduce yourself and say your name. These are things that, like, are basic, life things anyway. Why would you not do that when you have a business? And so if someone walks
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Soft skills, right?
Yeah. And we can all drift out of that some. But if your mindset is to help people, and it's also, I think, a lot about it, I tell my staff this too. It's about yes, we have to make a living, but they say the main thing that causes depression is self-focus. The more you focus on yourself, it's directly correlated to how much depression you're going to have. So the less you focus on yourself and focus on helping someone else, the better your life is going to be at some level. And so it's just a given that that's what we encourage people to do within the business.
So I know over the years I've heard people who are maybe skeptical of chiropractic care, or they've never done it, and so they're afraid of the unknown, I guess. But what would you say to someone who's never seen a chiropractor, maybe the benefits or information that they just may not be aware of?
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this first. I always get a cringe in me when a family member calls me and say they've gone to a chiropractor. Now, the reason is, just like I guess with every other doctor, there's a lot of strange chiropractors out there. There just are. There are a lot of strange doctors out there. So I'm always like, is this a chiropractor that, is not giving people a lot of pressure to have care? They're letting them make their own choice. Is this a chiropractor that's not a weirdo doing some kind of voodoo stuff? What is going on? I think chiropractic has a good lane of being a spot where you can treat a lot of musculoskeletal problems and do it we have a niche that nobody else does. And so for back problems, for musculoskeletal problems, for neck issues, headaches, shoulder, knee, all of these things, it's a good place to start for sure. What was the rest of the question? I'm sorry.
I don't even remember.
For people that would be leery,
skeptical.
maybe. Yeah.
It's not as extreme. Everybody now watches these YouTubes, these crack videos or
Pull
whatever
their
they
heads
call
off.
them.
Yeah.
And I kind of hate it because they all come in the clinic
It's
now.
been memes all day.
Especially anybody under 40. They've watched these crack videos
Yeah.
now all the time. And I'm like, oh goodness, what have they watched? They've watched the guy jerk the head as hard as they can. They've watched,
Can't take it.
and they also I think they mic in those cracks, and like not everybody
Right. It
has
doesn't
the
sound
sound like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just not as abrupt and not as dangerous or not as scary as it looks. I do tell patients that are afraid of coming to the chiropractor. Chiropractors pay like a tenth of the amount of practice insurance that your general practitioner pays.
Yeah.
Okay, so the insurance companies have the algorithms. They know where the damage is being done. Like if you took a Tylenol 2 weeks ago and you were going to do that between that and an adjustment, you'd be safer to do the adjustment. So yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Because they do know where the injuries are coming from.
They
for
know
insurance.
they know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I know even she was talking about your back issues and different things. And I know you were very safe even with me getting started. You were, I was a little scared when I first came. And I remember saying to him, like, I'm a little scared of you. He said, it's okay, I'm a little scared of you too.
Yeah.
But over time and getting to know like what we can do, like it's but that personalization, I was glad to hear him say that.
Yeah.
Because that told me, okay, I'm just not another name that's going to pay the bill at the front. Like he really dials in for each client, and I don't know what you call them, clients, patients, whatever. But to know that person and what they need, and I also happen to know you're very benevolent, and you are in the community too, and I know through sponsorships and things like that. So I'm curious, like, how do you see the role of a business owner? That community. I always say, if you don't have good customer service, I'm in marketing and I can only do so much. If you do lousy work and lousy customer service, you can have the best marketing in the world and it won't matter because you will ruin it yourself, right?
Right.
So the customer service, aspect, but I'm just curious what you feel like you don't have a business without these clients and patients.
Right.
So what do you see? What would you say to a business owner that would say your responsibility back to this community? Because I think business owners can get this idea like, if I get your business or if I don't get business, like that, and they just have horrible how they treat people sometimes, and you're like, that's your bread and butter. Yeah. So I would be curious your thoughts on. I know we talked about how you have the culture within your clinic, but what would you say as just a general business owner? What is your responsibility back to a community that helps pay your bills?
I would just say, as a foundation. That you hear this quip a lot, and the older I get, the longer I'm in business, the more I consider this to be true. Business is about relationships. I heard that early on when I was young. I was like, what does that mean? But what it means is that you are entering a relationship with a person. And when you're in the healthcare business, the relationship, there's less barriers because you're touching people, you're dealing with people's most important things in their life, their health and their body. So and in every relationship, I'd say the number one thing is you have to be honest. And so one of the things that I will tell people when I'm treating them or getting ready to treat them, like, here's what I'm thinking right now as I talk to you. So if you tell me your symptoms or whatever, I will literally feed them what I'm thinking. And the reason is, now I might not have done that early on in practice, but I do it now because I know my lane, I know what I know and what I don't know. And so if you're not trying to hide anything, this is what I know, this is what I do, I can tell you what I know and what I do, then you can make a better decision because I'm being as honest with you as I can be. And then the pressure's off me, the pressure's off you. So I think just being you don't have to be blunt, but as being as forthright as you possibly can be when they ask you a question, if you don't know or whatever, you have to just be as forthright as possible. That then builds the relationship, and then another human can make a choice from there on out.
Yeah.
So
going back to, I guess, some of your community involvement, I know small town businesses, tend to get hit up a lot by various groups looking for sponsorships, looking for involvement. Can you donate a door prize? Can you sponsor, this team or this, booster program or whatever? When you're thinking about giving back to the community as a business owner, what does that look like for you? And how do you go about making those decisions? Are you trying to, look for something that aligns with your business practice? What kind of thought goes into that?
That's a good question. The reason that's a little bit of a complicated question is because a lot of times it's just, and I think a lot of business owners are like this. It's like, have I donated lately? What have I donated to lately? How much am I willing to give out right now? First come, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The first one to ask gets the money. So there is a lot of that in that. And it is it does feel like a lot sometimes in these small towns because there's a lot of like, the high school wants you to donate, but then everybody's kids want you to donate, and you just have to like go. I have to just go. I'm going to do this. What? Obviously, you're thinking about what's going to make the most impact for your business. Um, I, for some reason, am drawn to like, like for instance, the high school or something, just because you got young kids that are, you know, trying to do something that's a part of the community. Everybody's children are important to them. Their activities are important to them, and I just think, well, that's a good thing to donate to as far as a business and to get an impact on your advertisement. So, but other things you might have, I think you said, what other things can you do? I was thinking about this as I read the questions. I've got three brothers. They all own businesses. Two of them have much larger businesses than I have. One of them has a trash business in Indiana. Big, picks up trash, does dumpsters, the whole bit. He donates dumpsters to every church that asks for it in a town bigger than Ford of Ford. And that's a way, like, so everything you do, whatever you do as a service, can always be donated. Now he does that for two reasons. He does it because he wants to help the churches, but he also does it because then everybody's going to know he donates trash bins to churches for free, and when something comes up, they're going to use it. So I always think it's good, even if you don't have the money to like donate to advertise at the a big banner at the high school or whatever. You can always donate a service. The other thing you can do, is I was taught, like in the Old Testament, it talks about when you harvest your field, leave some to the side so that people who have need can glean from the grain. And I was taught that growing up by my dad my whole life. And so you always have to remember that people in need, you can help them without giving money. You can help them because that's the good thing to do out of your abundance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I like that perspective. I do. Yeah.
So the Aaron Ford, not the Dr. Ford.
Right.
Who is he? I know like you like athletics. Like I know you always run in the reindeer run, and that you guys are sponsors of that the Lafayette Women's Club does and things like that. So who is that guy outside of the office? And I'm saying this because I'm sitting here listening to the whole mentor, and I know you, so I just want you to speak into that, your heart.
Who am I? That's a big question.
Yeah, that wasn't on my list, was it?
Yeah, you just hit the who am I question.
I think you have a heart for mentorship. I would say that from knowing you. I mean, I watch you with your grandchildren. And you don't just tell them to do something, you're showing them how to do it.
Yeah. So I think that comes from my family origin, that life has meaning. Not to go too deep, but life has meaning, and there's a way that you live that honors the most important things in life, that honors God, that honors what it means to be a human. But then I think from our family origin is this idea that you pass on wisdom, like that if somebody will listen to wisdom, and if you can spare your kids grief and help them be successful through wisdom, then you pass that on. And so our family culture, I think, growing up from my grandparents down, has been that way. So that is a big, family. I think is the unit where you pass on who God is and what the meaning of life is. And so obviously you want to pass that on to your children. Now I have grandkids. I got 5 grandkids, and that even gets more strong, or gets stronger. The culture we live in is, it's everybody knows that it's it's worse, harder than it's ever been before. And so I think we all have a little fear, like, how are we going to navigate this AI,
Yeah. Yeah.
all this? How are we going to navigate that? And so being present in your body and being human, and one reason I wanted a little farm like we have, I grew up in Indiana and my grandparents had a farm, and it did something to me, being outside and being on the farm, and I told my wife, I said, this is where the grandkids are going to come. If we have a little farm, it'll be where the grandkids want to come. You know what I mean? And so that's one vision I had, and so I want my kids, my grandkids, to be able to be outside, to be around animals, to so that they learn what it means to be embodied and human, and what the real world is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and one thing you touched on too, and this has kind of been on topic lately in the community, there are all of these discussions about various projects, right? And how do we grow as a community, but also retain, the parts of our county, our community that make us what we are, and what drew people here to this area in the first place. But the conversation that I've kind of had with people over the last few weeks is, how do we do that and have discussion, and do so in a respectful manner, and teach our kids, hey, you can disagree with people without going for the jugular, right? Like you can have disagreements, you can question things, but you can still do so in a manner that's respectful, and that teaches the next generation that it's okay to sit down at a table with people you disagree with and talk through issues and come out on the other side. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because when I read Alicia's questions, I was thinking about one thing. Part of it's our independence, like my wife and I. What I'm getting ready to say is part of just being an independent person, and but we've tried to stay under the radar. Like, we're from a generation where you don't want everybody to know what you're doing. Like, I have people come in the clinic now. My daughters put stuff on Facebook, and they've seen me interacting with my grandkids, and that's like weird to me, because I'm like, I don't have any social media at all, except my business does, but I personally don't. But other people around me do. So to answer your question, like, why do I need to be involved, in my opinion, need to be involved in everybody else's life? If they ask me, yes. But if I'm living a good, wholesome life, and I can live that under the radar, that is going to, like, not everybody wants to know my opinion, and not everybody, wants to know everybody else's opinion. And by the way, nobody wants to necessarily know your opinion. Just the person that's talking at you. But if you're, there's in scripture, there's this thing where Paul gives the fruits of the Spirit. And at the end of the fruits of the Spirit, he says, there's no law against those things.
Right.
Okay. So if you're living a good and wholesome life, people don't have anywhere to go to say things against you.
Yeah.
But if you're putting all your stuff out there, and all your failures, your mistakes, and your opinions, it just doesn't go well, But if you're being a faithful, truthful, kind, loving, giving person, they're going to have nothing to say. So the answer to your question is, it all comes down to, people need to have character. And yes, there's going to be major differences, but even in the differences, you can still have character. It's everything Jesus taught. Let's just put it out there. It's just everything Jesus taught.
And it's relationships.
Yeah.
We just are having this conversation as a family. My kids are getting the age, they're all getting married, and you've got other people coming into our family culture, and our family learning their culture. And, it's like, how do you maintain the unity of a family where everybody gets to be uniquely individual and have unique preferences? It's totally fine. And still just keep that beautiful unity in your family. And you have to fight for those things to make that the forefront. Like, at the top of the day, the most important thing is we're family.
Yeah.
And I think in our community, I think about that. Like, look, at the end of the day, this community has a lot of opinions, and you see that on social media a lot. And whatever anybody does, there's always somebody has the ministry of discouragement that's going to come up, and like, okay. But at the end of the day, you watch this community, like you said, when there's a tragedy, and suddenly all those things go away. They're just riffraff. And you, at the end of the day, you gotta remember we're a community. We live, work, breathe, play together. And you have to fight for those things. And I think vocally remind people, like, hey, what's the most important thing right now?
Right.
And that's relationships. And we're never going to get anything done if we have so much disharmony. So at least let's be unified on what are the base things we can agree with. And at the end of the day, we're a community. We all want the best for our community. We have different opinions of what that looks like.
Yeah.
So how can we marry that? And it's the struggle of humanity and relationships. I think it's reflected in homes. It's reflected in work and things. And so I think if you can be a voice to say, like you're saying, just be a good person.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of another verse that says basically keep your mouth shut and work with your own hands and
Yeah.
mind your own business. Pretty much, it's like if everybody just does the best in their life.
We could frame that.
Right? I know I have enough trouble keeping myself straight. Why do I think I beat everybody else? You know?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Like just do what you're supposed to do really well, and it's hard for people to come up with reasons to fight that. And if they do, just mark them and know they're just a troublemaker and move on. Keep doing the right thing.
Noted. File the name.
Well, I want to talk about in helping people. You all have something new going on at your practice that is really helpful, and I really want to give you time. I want you to talk about that. What's going on?
Yeah. So I'll give a quick story. The reason I got into PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. This is a little different. People don't think about chiropractors necessarily doing this, but because we're more in kind of an alternative space, a lot of chiropractors are doing this now. A lot of people want you can see in our whole culture, people are wanting an alternative people are wanting to get healthy. You know, you got this Maha movement, you've got all that going on now. Maha being make America healthy again. You've got people now, if you look on social media, everybody's talking about ways to be healthier. People are finally getting it figured out, like that medicine and not that medicine is not essential, but like our mindset has not been right in healthcare. Anyway, that is aside. About 10 years ago, I had a patient come in and he said, my knees, I was asking about his knees. He was in his mid 60s probably. He said, my knees don't hurt anymore because I've been getting these injections. And I said, okay, well, what injections you're getting? He tells me the doctor who's giving him these injections, it was a podiatrist in Dayton, Tennessee. I think I end up calling the podiatrist, asking him what he was doing. Well, he was doing these platelet-rich plasma injections. Okay, so I started referring a few people out to this doctor. They have to drive however long Dayton, Tennessee is, hour and a half or whatever, to go get these platelet-rich plasma injections. And I started seeing that people were getting really good results with it. And then I had researched it. So what platelet-rich plasma is where we draw your own blood, we spin it down in a centrifuge, and there's a filter that filters out your red blood cells in your blood from your platelets and your plasma, which is the more, clear, yellowy looking stuff. So then we take the concentrated platelets from your own blood, which are the healing cells and the signaling cells. So they signal for other types of healing cells to come and repair the area. So we take those platelets and we inject 10 times the platelets that are in your blood. Now that seems like a lot, but it's even more than you'd think, because your knee, for instance, most of your joints are cartilaginous. They've got a lot of cartilage in them, so they don't get a lot of actual blood into them because they don't need to be gooey, they need to be tough. So when you put 10 times the platelets in your blood in your knee, that's probably like 100 times the platelets that your knee ever gets. And so there's lots of research on it. You can look this up. It works better than cortisone. It gives you the same relief on a knee or a shoulder or an elbow that cortisone would give you from the anti-inflammatory component, but it also actually enhances the joint. So cortisone actually deteriorates the soft tissue in your joint. There's research that shows the more cortisone injections you get in your knees, the quicker you get to a knee replacement. That's not the case with platelet-rich plasma, with PRP. It actually enhances your joint and helps your pain, and the long term shows that you're more flexible as well. And so, people who don't want to get a knee replacement, they're tired of getting cortisone, it's just a great alternative. We've been doing it for about 4 months now, and the results are really actually better than I expected. I had several years ago sent my mom for PRP. I'm one of these people, I have to like believe in it to like sell it. I mean, like really believe in it. And I had enough experience with PRP that I wanted it in the clinic. And so we've got a nurse practitioner that comes in on Fridays and does our PRP injections. We're having phenomenal results with it. It doesn't fix everything or heal everything. If your knee is completely wore out or your shoulder's completely arthritic, then yeah, you need a replacement. But if you're in the in between or you're not willing to get a replacement, it's a great alternative.
And there's some other things you do too, like
Yeah, we started doing some cosmetic type things. So PRP platelets can be micro needled into the face. So a lot of women know this. I hadn't really looked into it much. And then when I started doing PRP on joints, I'd have women come in and say, "Are you doing PRP on the face?" And I'd be like, "No." And so I had to like research it more heavily because it makes the collagen in your face, develop quicker, and it brings collagen cells to your face, and then it helps wrinkles and scars and all that kind of thing too. So we're doing that as well. Even doing a little bit of Botox. Of course, you can do Botox on the jaw for jaw pain and so forth, and you can do it for wrinkles on the face. So, yeah, our nurse practitioner, he's really good. He's been doing injections for like 18 years. He just does a great job. His name's Greg Joyner. Some people may know him because he's a hometown boy too. But anyway, he does that for us, and we're liking being able to expand into areas where we call it biologics. So we're not just able now to address the body from the outside and try to get it to heal itself. Now we're trying to address the body from the inside, going a level deeper with the PRP. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
Well, Dr. Ford, thank you for coming on and chatting with us today.
and on your social media, right? Like you do helpful videos at times,
Yes.
and talk to
Yes,
so people
yes.
can find you.
Yeah, Ford Chiropractic Facebook.
Yeah.
We've got videos there. So yes.
And tell people if they haven't passed by your location there, tell them where they can find you too.
1 mile south of Walmart on the left, or just past the light from the state trooper post on the right. So
Thank you for the insightful discussion. If you are looking for chiropractic care here in Walker County, go visit Ford Chiropractic in LaFayette. Thank you, Alicia, for being my co-host today. Until next time, join us for another edition of Walker Talks.